Well, everybody, welcome to the TruthSeekah podcast. We're doing this live. It's been a while since I did a live stream and been recording a lot of podcasts and just hangouts with people, and they've been fun, but a lot of them are on the back end, so I'm editing them and those kind of things. But I miss going live to hang out with the chat, with the community here, and man, pull questions during the live streams and stuff. So that's what we're doing today, doing it again. It's going to be a good talk. Today, my guest is James Hardin with the Ancient Way podcast. James, what's up, brother? Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
We just did a talk on your podcast. You guys had me on last week, I believe it was, and great talk. I just got done listening to it. I listened to the whole thing, and really good talk, man. Thank you guys for hosting me over there. So let everybody know who wants to listen to that and wants to check it out. You guys can look up the Ancient Way podcast. If you want to go ahead and plug that website real quick before we get started, man, that'd be cool.
Yeah, theancientwaypodcast.com is it.
Simple.
Yeah, simple. On, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere podcasts are available.
The name.
And thanks for coming on too, man. It's like, I don't want to go too much into it. If you ever have Marlia and I on here, I'd love to share the podcast story there. But it's like, yeah, it's a space for us to share our experiences and bring people on. It's like we all have a piece of the Lord that is unique to us. And if we're functioning in it, you can showcase it and people can see it and latch onto it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's been awesome. Like, I had such a good time with you guys. I was like, I'd love to have both of you on the show, and maybe even together too, once we do this. So,
it'd be fun.
Podcast has been strange here lately. I, find desires changing. We talked about desire on your show. You guys got to go listen to that episode. But the desires changing of just wanting to talk about anything or to anyone. It's like not there, and like sometimes you just do a podcast just to do it, and there's good stuff in it, right? You still, get gems in it and stuff like that. But when it's somebody you want to talk to, or you can talk about anything, those are the best. So after talking to you guys for the period of time, I was like, I got to have both of you on. So let's dive into your story, man. How long have you been serving Christ? How long you've been a Christian, or however that's worded? And let me stop there, because guys, we're gonna get super deep. Like, it's the terminology sometimes that's like, oh, this is a Christian thing. No, we're gonna go deep. This is what you're looking for, but we got to get into the genesis of this deep stuff. So where did this start for you with like your relationship with Christ and coming into faith?
And just as a relation, like, I had issues with the Christian slang. I had problems with hearing the words like glory, and I was like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
But there's a difference in, like, those words describe something that's very real. It's just some of those words have been taken and kind of pulled through the dirt and misrepresented, So I grew up in church as a kid. I'm here in Texas, and I grew up in church, and I always enjoyed it. Didn't have really issue with it as a kid, and used to. I could memorize all the books of the Bible, that kind of thing. And over the course of time, I would say through like teenage years, things like that, when your mind starts to develop, the one thing that really began to stick with me when I would think of church, or when I would think of Jesus, is like hell, sin, rapture. It's like that's the real Trinity there.
Yeah.
In my mind. And it's like, whether or not that's what they were pushing, that's what stuck. It's like, oh man. And it's like, hey, let's create a foundation of fear, and let's call it Jesus. Let's call it God. Because that really is what it is. And so that always bothered me, and it developed this grid in my mind of like, oh, I got to pray for forgiveness every morning and cover myself. And if I, drop a F-bomb while I'm driving, cover yourself quick, because you get in a car accident and that's it. And then there's also that looming, it's like the hamster wheel too, of like, well, you better be ready when he shows up like a thief in the night. So it's all of this almost like anxiety. But I grew up in that, and it was just kind of a thing. It was just kind of a normal aspect of my life. But I remember vividly there were a couple of little points in my childhood and like growing up that I'm like, I'm gonna take a note of that, of what just happened. When I was I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I was asleep in my bedroom. Well, not asleep. I woke up and there was this demon, this like corpse looking thing that walked up into my room. I mean, like physically, it was there, and I looked at it. I remember all the details. I could draw a picture of it right now. Had chains on him, and it was just dark, you know. Walked up and just stared at me, and just to intimidate me. And I mean, it scared me to death. So I just laid there until I guess eventually I went to sleep. So that was one of those things of like, hey, there's more going on than meets the eye, what we're used to. And anyways, over time, church ended up having kind of a church split. I got slimed by the whole thing, and my family went to another church, and I went one time, and they had a mission statement, and I was like, this is so cheesy and empty. I'm done with this. There's no power here. So I kind of went on my own path, and I ended up, my dad was really a root of a lot of bitterness in my life. He was strict, and I always had this, I never could do anything good enough. Like I would mow the yard and I would get so OCD about it, but he would come out after I mowed the yard and he would find like a blade of grass, and it's like, hey, you missed a spot. You better do it right the first time. And really that kind of grid. So here I am thinking like God, whatever God is, whoever God is over here. The whole hell thing, the sin thing, looming pressure. And here's my earthly dad over here, can't do anything right. And he's going to go behind me and find fault in anything that I do. And so when that stuff is there, and feel free to chime in and, any questions you have, just cut me off. Because I'll just keep going.
Yeah, you're good. That's what I do.
But there's that grid. Cool. There's that grid. And what happens when you do that? You bottle that stuff up. If you don't know how to navigate those feelings or how to forgive or how to let go, it bottles up, and then you get kind of frustrated and kind of angry. And then it gets to the point where you're like, oh, this is miserable and it's his fault or it's their fault. And you start to find a face to put on your pain and your anger, all that stuff. And a lot of times it's God. It's your dad. It's whoever it is,
Yeah.
It's a friend or somebody who's backstabbed you or something like that. And that developed and spiraled into like pure hatred in my heart. And whenever I say like, I know what it feels like to have murder in your heart, and I know what it feels like to be capable of it and to desire it. And I'm not that person whatsoever anymore. I couldn't harm a fly. Like it's an issue for me to, step on a grasshopper. But that stuff was there and it was very real. And I used to really hate people. I could look at somebody and just not like them and just passionately hate them. And so anyways, all that stuff happens, and I go on this trail. I used to smoke like 2 packs of cigarettes a day, drinking heavily, and just going through the motions. And I'd always wanted to be a filmmaker. Nothing quite worked out. And there was a 2-week period. I want to say it was 2016, 2017, where it was good and bad. Everything came to like a standstill. It was like I was in my first movie. All my foundations, my family, my marriage, my own life, my mother, everything was just shaken. Within a 2-week period, I had some family issues. My mother got diagnosed with cancer. Then I got in a car wreck. This work truck hit me, T-boned me going like 55 miles an hour and like threw me off into the ditch. And it really shell-shocked me. And I had this trauma of like, man, we're just little bugs. We're just little bugs that at any moment we could just like, we're gone, And really nihilistic. Like, man, there's no point to all this. Nothing's safe. If I want to do something, there's no point because anything could happen. Felt that about my family. And anyways, all this stuff. And I knew when I was a kid as well, going back, I used to have this imagination. I would always draw pictures, very creative. And at this point, I realized that beautiful imagination that you had is polluted. And I realized it. I would have thoughts of, like, before my daughter was born, that she was going to be premature, and I would have visions of that playing out in my mind, and I couldn't get rid of them. Perverted visions, things like that. Like, my imagination was completely trashed and polluted. And it was like torment. And so all that stuff happened. Of course, there's like the suicidal thoughts. There's like, man, I'm driving my car. If I just jerk the steering wheel that way, I'll be done with it. And it was like the voices saying, like, hey, do it.
Yeah.
End it. And so it got to the point where I didn't know. I didn't believe in church. I didn't believe in Jesus, the God. I didn't know what it was. And so I got to such a desperate point, and I quit smoking in the middle of this. Didn't know why. I smoked my last cigarette, and I said, well, that's the last one, which is weird how that happens. And I prayed. I said, I don't know who I'm praying to. I said, if it's Buddha, if it's Allah, if it's Krishna, if it's just the universe, if it's bigger than all of it, whatever it is, if it's Jesus, I give up. I give up, and I'm just open to whatever the truth is. Reveal yourself to me. And I just left it at that. There's a right way to give up, I think, to surrender. And I did that. And I started having dreams, and I got invited to a church. It's where I go now, Tyler House of Faith here in Tyler. And my family had to drag me there. I was like, man, I'm not going to this Nickelback church. That's what I called it. I was like, they think they're cool. I never heard them, never saw them. And I went there. And when I walked in, I was like, I could feel like heaven there. And I was like, oh my God, this is like, it's freedom. And these people know God. I can see him in them, and they're free. And so I started going there, and that really opened up. It's like, my pastor has said this before. It's like when you take like a stray dog and you put him in the mix with a bunch of other trained dogs, like he'll be trained according to them. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to learn these techniques, and the whole point was like, hey, just connect to the Lord. Don't connect to the pastor. He's not the priest. Connect straight to the source himself, to Jesus. And so I started praying, and I'm like, man, if it's Jesus, you're going to have to show up. And so I started having dreams. I'd have dreams where Paul would read some of his letters to me in my dreams.
Wow.
I would have biblical dreams that I didn't know were biblical until after the dream. And it kick-started this. I started writing them down. I started drawing the pictures of my dreams. And it was like this love letter communication of Jesus to me. And then I had these moments where he would show up, and I couldn't see his face, but I would see like this. He would be like in white, and he'd be standing next to me. And I was like, no, it was him, you know? And, anyways, I was on this path, and one day I was at work, and I kind of hit this wall. I was like, man, you're like almost flirting with me. You're showing me that you're here, but I want everything that you have for me. Everything a human is supposed to be, everything we're supposed to walk in, I want every single bit of it. And I would go on my lunch breaks at that point. I worked in a warehouse. And on my lunch breaks, I would take 15 minutes to read either the Bible, a book. I mean, just devouring. I read like 70 books in, a year. And then the last 15 minutes, I would just shut off, and I would just be open to whatever he had to say to me. Just pray. I would let him talk. I didn't have to ask him for anything. I would just let him speak to me and pour into me. And one day on my lunch break, I was like, man, I want everything. There's a blockage here, and I want everything you have for me. And he said, you're going to have to forgive your dad. He said, your dad is still in there, the hatred for him. And I'm like, wow. I said, okay, that doesn't feel comfortable, but you're telling me this, and I ask for everything. Like, I don't feel it, but I'll choose it. I'll make the decision to forgive my dad. And so I sat there, and I just felt the Lord was like, hey, go into the hatred of it. Like, feel it. Let it manifest itself. I'm like, all right. And I'm sitting there like, no telling what I look like on my lunch break in my car.
Oh, God.
And I feel all this hatred for him, everything. I'm seeing everything he's ever done. And the Lord's like, go into it, go into it. And I'm feeling this hatred. But then simultaneously, visions start to pop in of Jesus having his beard pulled out and the Romans like hitting him and stuff like that. And that, man, when he says, Father, forgive them, they know not what they do. It was like this simultaneous switch of, hey, you're feeling all that stuff. Like, forgive your dad. He imparted forgiveness to me. He imparted that piece of his heart to mine. And I felt it and I saw it. I saw this black mass being lifted out of my person. And he did it and he took it out. And in that moment, it was the biggest deliverance that I've ever experienced. Like, I forgave my dad. And it unlocked my vision. And it unlocked such a significant chunk of my life. And immediately after that, I felt freedom. You don't know what you have like until it's gone. I felt freedom and I said, who's next? Who else is in there that I haven't forgiven yet? And I went through this within 30, at least, I mean, at the most 30 minutes.
No, just back to back. It was like, you just kept going. It's like, okay,
I was like that
dad's
teacher
released.
that chewed me out.
And now who's next?
And I'm
Wow.
like, I want freedom from every one of these and I want to release them and I want to feel love for them. Like, I don't require anything from them. Forgiveness, it's not reciprocal. It's not real forgiveness if it's reciprocal. Like, I require no payment.
It has nothing to do with them, right?
Not at all. Not at all. And so I went through and released them all, and I was able to see them, man, like kids. I was able to see them the way that he sees them. It's like they truly don't know what they're doing. And so that was a significant moment for me. And about a month ago, I did this message at church, and my pastor said, hey, you want to take the mic Sunday? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can talk in front of all sorts of people, but that one scared me. I was like, it's responsibility. And I said, yeah, but I can only really talk about my experience. You know, I'm not like a sermon person. And, anyways, I felt like, you know what? I better call my dad, tell him he didn't know all this stuff. So I was like, he knew a little bit of it, but not the extent. So I was like, well, it's only right that I call dad and tell him how much I hated him and that Jesus taught me how to forgive him. And so I called my dad like the week before, and it was just how do you say that? I call him, I'm like, hey dad, I felt like I needed to tell you this. Like, you know, I hated you. I really hated your guts growing up, all this stuff. Like, you were such a point of bitterness in my heart.
He knew it, right?
I told him the whole story.
He knew it.
What?
He knew it, right? He's like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He knew it. And his thing was like, man, he's like, I'm so sorry. I never meant to do that. And I said, I know. I know you did. And, we were able to go into it and talk about it. And this is one thing that was so beautiful is we were able to look at our family lineage, like from that third perspective, from heaven's perspective, essentially, and say, look where they tried to separate us. Like, look where the enemy tried to like sabotage our family. And it's like, look what Jesus did. He brought us together. We're talking about this right now. Like, this is unreal. I never in a million years would have thought you and I would be sitting here talking about this. And then it ended with like, I'm really glad you're my son. And I said, hey, I'm really glad you're my dad. And then I invited him to the Sunday message. I'm like, hey, do you want to come, watch me do the message? And he's like, yeah. Which that seasoned the whole morning because everybody knows, like, that's James's dad in there and he's about to share this message. But anyways, just a testament to the Lord. I mean, inviting him. And I think for me, it wasn't like, it was as simple as like, whatever the truth is. And like, I mean it, man, with my whole heart, whatever the truth is, if it's Jesus, I'm open to it. You're going to have to reveal yourself to me. And I think a lot of people, they don't experience things at first. Like there's like, well, he doesn't show me anything, or he never pulls through, or that doesn't happen to me. It's like, I think the only thing that you need is a yes in your heart. If you want him, that's it.
You're qualified.
You're qualified. And I think that's the only key is like, yeah, I want to know Jesus. And
He
here's
wants to
another
know you.
thing.
You're in good company.
He wants to know you. Yeah, that's it. And he's like dying to know you. But this is another thing too. I talked to quite a few people and, new age people and just different people from all walks of
People.
life. People. And one thing that I've really just so thankful for is like you talk about the universe, and he is that. You go into all this stuff like the universe and manifestation, and I'm like, man, thank God he has a face. Thank God he showed us his person. Thank God it's Jesus. He's got a name. It's Jesus. It's
Yeah.
him. He is the he's everything. He's all of it. And he's humble. And he's the dad that you always needed. He's the mother that you always needed. Whatever it is that you don't have, he is that for you. And he's there.
Dude.
So
That's so powerful, man. Thank you for sharing. And
yeah.
I'm sure that that was a monumental moment for you and just in the spirit for your generations, man, to make amends and then have your
Yeah.
dad there, to be a part of that and to clear the air before, man.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna just ask some questions on that just to explore, this is what we
Absolutely.
do, and there's a freedom here for that. What's your birthday? Like what sign are you, if you will?
Oh gosh. May 11th. Is it the Taurus?
Okay. I'm not
Bull?
sure. I'm not sure. The only reason I ask is because I'm like, and I know you've listened to the podcast and stuff. I'm like, have you listened to my story? Like, there's just so much, you know what I'm saying? There's so many similarities
Yeah.
to our stories. And so, of the seeker, like, hold on, is this like a path that all the Capricorns and Sagittarius like go through or something? Like what's the similarity? What's the common denominator? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe there is some of that stuff along the lines. Maybe it's the father and mother sign that come passed down. I don't know, but
Yeah.
just what you've shared with that. I experienced it even when we talked on your show, just about the stepping into your dreams, and
Yeah.
having to trust God and lay down idols and those kind of things, like how that was a huge part of your, it's part of the model though, right? So, you know what I'm saying? A lot of it, maybe all of it. And that's what we just talk about, because I woke up at 4 years old and had spirits in my room, pinning me to my bed, black shadow figures, and scared to death of them kind of thing. And then, eventually came the mom thing. So the same kind of hatred. I'm stupid. You was a mistake. All of these things like carrying with you as a child and teenager, to where it's like, there's a resentment maybe both ways, and then there was like, demons, if you will, that came and lived in that space to tell you then, yeah, she does hate you. Yeah, you were a mistake. You were, versus the voice of truth, which is the voice of Jesus, who is now there. But I went through the same, deliverance thing where God told me, hey, there's something there. You need to confess it. You have a demon, and it's because of your hatred towards your mother, and her hatred towards you. To confess it at a prayer meeting, I did, and got freedom. And it was deep. It was having to forgive her and to
when
love
you do
her.
it in front of people too, like shedding light on it. That's beautiful.
Well, let me ask you this. Let's double down on this a little bit. Just to, and probably don't know, but this is just the idea. The spirit that you saw in your room, I'm asking the same thing myself, who or what was it? Was it a demon? Was it a blah, blah, blah? Was it a, and what was its role? Was it to scare you away from anything spiritual? Maybe, who knows? But let's entertain this idea.
You want me to tell you what it was?
Let me get this out first, and then you can just so you can hear it. Just, maybe I'm right on prophetically now, but
yes, go.
So there's an idea that I've been studying. It's an ancient idea, but the ka and the soul of like spirits attach themselves to us when we're born, and when we are put together in this body as well. There's other souls that we are to redeem. There's like sins of the fathers and sins of the past that are one with us, and it didn't get healed in the past generation. And now it's
Yeah.
with you, and you just so happen to wake up and maybe seeing it join itself with you, maybe seeing a projection of something that's within you, that it was your responsibility to see that thing that manifested itself in generations before, and as well as yours, so that you were able to free yourself and your children and your children's children from this type of entity, hurt, trauma, whatever, that was this bondage, gruesome death spirit that you got to see, that you brought to the light and redeemed, if you will. So I wanted to roll that off of you, but there's a deep concept with the soul and the aspects of it within Egypt and within early Jewish belief.
Oh yeah, that's 100% what it was and what other things were. And I have a story about that too. And it's like, yeah, man, when you wake up, it's like, oh, I'm the one who gets to sever this thing. If if you're with the Lord in it and you see it, the thing that came at me as a kid and tried to scare me, it was like an embodiment of death. It was like a spirit of death. And it scared me away from death. When I would see dead bodies, that kind of thing would just petrify me.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's what's interesting about it is like the enemy is so strategic and ancient. It's like, hey, what is James supposed to walk in? Let's counter that specifically. Is James supposed to raise dead people? Yeah. Okay. Make him afraid of death. And I think he does that with all of us. It's very pointed. It's like, yeah, you scared me, but you also showed your hand, And so
Yep.
after I forgave my dad and started coming around and stuff like that, I was in my living room and I was reading a book, and I opened it and I was reading something that really aligned with that death thing. Fear. It was death, control, manipulation. It was like a Jezebel thing. And I didn't know what that was, So I'm reading it, and this thing, very similar, pops up in my living room. Taller than my ceiling, but it's like it's there. It's not like I'm seeing it in my mind's eye. This thing showed up to intimidate me once again. And it like paralyzed me. But in my mind, I'm thinking, if you back down from this thing, then you're going to be running for the rest of your life. It's like, this is your chance to confront it. And it's like you choose Jesus in it. And I did. And it dissipated. It disappeared. And the fear of death, like I said, I told you on our show the other day, like if I see a dead animal, I'm going to pray for it. I'm going to see if I can resurrect that thing. And I know I've had dreams about it. The Lord has trained me in my dreams of like what that looks like and what that feels like to speak life and raise the dead. And I know I'm meant to walk in it, and I know that thing was there strategically to shut me down. On another note, what you said about like the family, the spirits that attach themselves to your soul and it comes through your family, I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm here to sever all that for my children, my lineage. But one thing I noticed, like kind of surprisingly, is it shoots up the lineage. And it goes and it becomes available to your father, your grandfather. And I think even the people that have passed before us, I think we can redeem what they, didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they can experience that redemption on the other side. I'm vocal. This is one thing that I'm try to be is honest. Wherever I'm at, I'll just talk about this stuff anywhere. If it comes up, I'm honest, but it makes it, when people see that somebody believes in something, it makes it, oh, maybe that is something. I was at a Thanksgiving family gathering, and one of my family members, older, I was talking about the suicide thing. I was like, yeah, man, I wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself. Like I was tormented by those voices telling me to do it. And I talked about it, talked about the Lord. It's like, yeah, Jesus freed me from that, left. Like a year later, this individual in my family, older than me, says, hey, yeah, I know you didn't know this, but whenever you were talking about it that one day, that suicide stuff, like I was in the middle of a depression considering doing something. And when you said that, it imparted something to me. and freed me from it. And I was at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, it's not a one-way ticket down the lineage. It's like a 360. It affects everyone in your life. And it's something they can eat too, you know? Um,
Yeah,
so that's pretty cool.
it's it the conversation's bigger
Yeah.
than we've been willing to have or that we know. We knew. I'm
Hmm.
convinced that we knew, that the
Yeah.
ancients knew. Again, it is all throughout the scriptures. It's in, but you don't recognize it because you don't think it's a thing. So therefore,
Yeah.
because of cognitive dissonance, you read past it. You
Hmm.
interpret it as a Sunday school imagery that you saw, and it's really the conversation is eternal.
Yeah.
It's beyond the grave. It's beyond church. You know what I'm saying? And
Oh yeah.
it's it's Christian, you know, and
Yeah.
it's the story of Christ. Like Christ incarnated and made himself lower to go and redeem dead things. Like he
Hmm.
did that not only on coming from heaven to earth, but even
Yeah.
going lower, going into a hell, going
Yeah.
into a place where dead souls were gathered. And
Hmm.
to go there and say, hey, life has come unto you. Here's the good news. You guys can go back home. You can go back to the
Yeah.
Father, kind of thing.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, the thing
That's
that tried
cool.
to take you out, man, you go there, and maybe that's part of. We talked about this maybe even before we went live too. You know, the
Yeah.
questions. You know what I'm saying? Um, I say maybe that's why you incarnated. You know, there's no
Yeah.
maybe. Like I came here. Like, why did Jesus incarnate?
Hmm.
You know, it says for this reason was
Yeah.
Christ manifested. That did I come here was to destroy the works of the devil.
Yeah.
I'm here to
That.
to right some wrongs, man. That
Hmm.
maybe I had nothing to do with. Maybe I did. I have no idea. But I'm here now, and
Yeah.
this is why I'm here. I didn't come here to
Yeah.
pay bills and die. I'm gonna pay bills. I didn't come here to be a screenwriter. I'm gonna be that. I'm gonna make movies. I'm
Yep.
gonna make music. And in all of that, the works of the enemy are being destroyed. It's just like, why am I here? Why am I manifested in this realm? Is to destroy the works of the enemy that we were spiraling down, we were spiraling out. But Christ had to put himself in me somewhere and then manifest himself, whatever age I was, and allow all of these things that even the
Yeah.
enemy tried to kill me, but I became aware of the devil's schemes, if you will. To say, you know what? Listen, not anymore.
Yeah.
The only thing he can do is lie, steal, kill. Christ has
Hmm.
come that we have life and life more abundantly. So that
That's
whole
why we're
journey,
here.
you know,
That's it. You just summed it up. That's it. Yeah, it's beautiful. I've had these visions and dreams before. I feel this way too. Like, what if before we were born, we're up there or wherever, you know, the dimension of heaven. And what if there's earth? We're sitting there looking at it and there's just swarms of us and the Lord's at the edge of it. And it's like we get to see our life. We get to see it all before we go down there. And it's like this honor that we choose to, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to redeem like you did. I'm going to go wreck the gates of hell like you did. I'm going to do what you did. And what if we choose it? And what if part of the journey is like, what if we already knew what we were supposed to do? You know, before the foundations of the world, like he knew us, that kind of thing. I don't know.
there's something bigger. You know,
Hmm.
reincarnation is a thing, man. You know,
Yeah.
it's not called that in the Bible. It's
Hmm.
not called that. It's called resurrection, and there's
Yeah.
different types of it. And I can show you many. I would love to say all. Yeah, at some
Yeah.
point I'll show you all. But I can show you many of the people in the New Testament that you think this is their first time. It wasn't their first time. They've been here
Yeah.
before. They're here now. Maybe they may be in an elevated position. Maybe they were
Yeah.
here. Maybe they're up here now above us as clouds, if you will, the great
Yeah.
cloud of witnesses. But there's cycles. The Bible talks about from generation to generation, there will be everlasting covenants. This is so deep, and I love that we're starting to see this biblically. When when Moses was battling, I believe it was Abimelech, he had
Yeah.
Aaron and Hur there to help him, and many of us know this story because he has his hands up, and as long as his hands are up in this battle, the angels, like, they're winning. They're winning
Yeah.
the battle as long as his hands up. And obviously it's very symbolic for a Christian to say, oh, as long as we're in praise, man, and in surrender, we're winning. A lot of truth there, right? But to look at some deeper aspects as well, right? There's a lot to that. But once they win that battle, like, the Lord blesses Moses and Aaron and their descendants, and he tells them this. He says that because you've won this battle and you've obtained victory, he says, I'm going to give you victory every generation when your descendants fight Abimelech in the next generation. What? Hold on. We just killed him. Like, there is no, what do you mean again?
Yeah.
What do you mean? What do you mean my children have to? Oh yeah. He's like, the spirits don't die, sir.
Yeah.
And when he comes back
Yeah.
with a vengeance for your children, for your seed, for your offspring,
Yeah.
I am going to vow to you that every generation, when you fight him, I'm giving you the victory. This is what we got to understand. These are ancient, age-old battles and victories, and Jesus is like, this isn't new. Like, maybe your victory is new. Maybe this is the first time you've obtained victory. Obviously, this didn't happen every generation. Like, it makes it real for you when you look at this stuff and say, well, you know what? That thing took your grandfather out, man.
Yeah.
It took your father out. Like, there's a lot of that. And now it's come for you. It's coming to take you out. What do you do?
Oh yeah.
Do you let it? Do you fight back? It took 3 generations for you to recognize it and see that alcoholism is a thing. To see that walking out on your family and abandoning your kids is a thing. Like, it's your turn. The ball is in your court. Do you add to the destruction? Or do you say, nope, I'm going to be the standard. We're changing this thing. Because every generation is coming and it's doing damage and messing lives up, man. But when we can identify it, man, then you are, what do we say? That idea of just, you want to do it, like because you can see it. Now you can identify it and you can nullify it. The generational curse, the hurt in your life, the destructive patterns that you're even unaware that you're doing to hurting people just by, telling it like it is, or, politics or your religion, man. You're hurting more people than you're even helping. But once you're able to see it, you're able to deal with it when it comes back around full circle. These cycles are way deeper than we know. And Jesus talks about it, in, I think it's Matthew 14, I believe. He says that the only sign that you're given is that the queen of the south will rise in judgment against this generation. And he was talking about the Queen Sheba that would come, and that came to Solomon with hard questions, with debates, with judgments to mock him and his God. Yeah. And he rose up in spirit and wisdom of sevenfold wisdom of God and answered all of her questions. And the evil spirit that was in her left her.
Yeah.
But there's a memory there. There's a soulish level that is there that continues to come. It's part of the model, man. Yeah. And you go through these tests. The Jezebel thing, Jezebel's like long gone. No, it's not. Jezebel's here, and like, it still wants to kill the prophets. Just so you know.
Same spirit. Oh, definitely. Oh,
spirit of Jezebel, spirit of Jonah, the spirit of Christ. These spirits are still here, and they come forth from generation to generation. And when it stops with
It's a war,
us.
man.
We're born with it and born with a target on you. The
Mm-hmm.
spirits know who you are.
Oh yeah.
You don't know who you are. Your enemy
Yeah.
knows who you are. They know when
Mm-hmm.
you were born. They know what star systems you're under, and they know your giftings and abilities. They've got your record in school. They know how you. They know everything about you. You're the one who doesn't know who you are until you come
Yeah.
into the knowledge of who you are in Him.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we're
And man,
doing. This is the manifestation of the sons of God, right?
it is. Yeah, and all of creation's groaning for it. The Lord is waiting for us to make his enemies his footstool. Like the ball is in our court. And it's all been laid out there. But man, isn't it beautiful once you do wreck hell in your lineage, once you do sever something, it's like, okay, this is real. That thing's been conquered. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something else? And it's not that you go demon hunting, but it's like the Lord will bring it across your path. It's like whack-a-mole. When that thing comes up, you hit it and you know. This is another one. Sorry, dream language too. Oh my gosh. And the supernatural, the things that have unlocked that I've been able to see from all of this forgiveness and stuff. This is another family thing that I had. It was anger and it was rage. And I had a dream one night. That was another one that I was gunning after. Like, Lord, free me of this anger and this rage. I had a dream where I was facing a giant. It was like a Nephilim giant in this dream. And this monster had he had like lats and muscles on his muscles. It was this deformed thing, you know? And I remember his eyes were just black. The pupils were black like a shark. And he was screaming at me. And that was the embodiment of that rage that I had, the anger issues, the outbursts, that kind of thing. And I'm standing there like, what do I do? You know, like, this is that thing. And I'm like, I'll fight it. Well, I didn't have to fight it. The Lord came through like a whirlwind and put that thing right in front of me, put it on the ground. And I mean, dust goes everywhere. And the Lord hands me that thing's sword, like David and Goliath. He put it on the ground and allowed me to behead this monster in my dream. And it's like, is the dream real or is it just a dream? It's like, yeah, it's real. And you have those things like these stories, and you have these tokens of the conquest, the more than conquerors. It's like, you have authority here. Now you have authority here. You can share those things and impart them. But that was another one. And he really does bring it up when it needs to be brought up. I don't have to go hunting for them. I just follow him. And if we show up, hey, he's right next to me. It's like, let's do this. It's like, as uncomfortable as it is, if you tell me to do it, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm following you.
It's there's more, there's levels to it, and but it's a big deal. And then you can help others, like you said, like you did it for yourself, and then it's like, okay, who else needs? First of all, who else needs forgiveness? But once you do it here and you do it for yourself, only then can you do it for others, because you have authority now. It's natural. And I do think it's deeper.
Yeah.
There's no thinking. I mean, it's way deeper than you die and then it's over, or your family members who died in their addiction, unhealed. Where are they now? Are they in hell? Are they in purgatory? Is this hell? Is this purgatory? So the conversation gets a lot deeper. You don't know. You've been told one thing, but you don't know. Until it starts showing itself to you.
Yeah.
And I had that experience. It's been several years ago. I knew it was a thing just with like the psychic movement kind of thing, mediums or whatever, like souls that are stuck in the balance kind of thing. And, we're helping souls cross over and get into the light. Like I interviewed those people, but I'm a skeptic. It's what helps me have amazing encounters. Like, hold on, I'm not going to make something up. I want it to be real. But I remember just knowing that's a thing, but having this surreal dream where my uncle comes to me, and he was an alcoholic. He wasn't a good dude. He did a lot of
Yeah.
treacherous things, you know. He comes to me in my dream. He died of cirrhosis of the liver, and
Mm.
in my dream, he comes to my house. He's like, "Hey, Derek, I want to live with you. Nobody let me live with them. Can I live with you?" And I just got out of prison. I've been in prison for 15 years and just got out and need a place. I need a place to live. I was like, "Oh yeah,
Mm.
let him come in." And it was so weird because it was so real, and the he had been dead for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this thing of what is hell? What is
Yeah.
purgatory? He was in prison. What is prison? What is
Mm-hmm.
hell? Is it not a place of reformation? Is it not a
Right.
place to look at what you did wrong and make it right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it was just, you know, it was a deeper conversation to me as a Christian. I'm like, oh, what do I do with this? Like, I
Oh
have
yeah.
no idea what to do. So yeah, I just so happened to be interviewing a lady the next day. This was
Uh-huh.
her thing. So I was able to bring it up and to her,
Mm.
and she's like, "Yeah, that's him coming to you." And I don't know what to do. I don't even know if I did it right. If there's a right way to do it other
There is
than
a right.
pray and
Yeah.
release. Like, but you have to be the one to
Mm.
ask. You have to be the one to see because you know, is he coming to live with you? Now he's possessed living inside of you? I don't think so. But
Yeah.
who in your family can they come to?
Yeah.
Who's open? I need help. I have
Yeah.
nobody to help me.
Yeah.
Everybody needs,
And
like, everyone needs help just like me. They're in the same boat that I'm in. The thing that killed me is killing them. Derek,
mm-hmm.
the priest of the family, the one who
Yeah.
got it right or was trying his best to get it right. Can you help me? You know,
Mm.
and so you're a Christian having this conversation, a Protestant Christian at that, you know, which is laughed at, which is mocked, which is new age, which is
Yeah.
demonic or whatever.
Sure.
No, this is ancient and it's biblical. I can give you chapter upon chapter, verse upon verse upon verse upon verse upon verse, and keep going
Mm-hmm.
with this is what I do. So now
Yeah.
that there's this, we can see it in the scripture, we can see it
Yeah.
in antiquity. Where are we in Christ to operate, to release, redeem, forgive sins? The New
Yeah.
Testament says we're stepping into an office of reconciliation where
Yep.
we have the ability. Come on, man.
Yeah.
How do you operate in that? We have the
It's great.
ability to forgive sins. And if we say no, then their sins are held. But you say,
Yeah.
yep, okay. Like,
Yeah.
what does it look like? I know,
Yeah.
listen, the people that you think are new age and demonic, many of them are
Uh-huh.
already operating in this.
Yeah.
Whether it's by pretend, whether they're playing dress up, I don't know.
Yep.
But when it's coming to you naturally, when you're seeking Christ, walking in the Spirit, and it's
Yeah.
naturally happening to you, you can take that to the bank. When it's
Yeah.
Christ in you is being revealed, manifested in His hope, you can trust it. And maybe we're asking questions outside of us. I talked about it on your show, and you're getting none.
Uh-huh.
You get
Yeah.
none. You have to go
Yeah.
directly to Him in fellowship and trust what He tells you to do. Okay, now that
Yeah.
you're done interviewing people and asking them, they have no idea. You're the one to bring this to the table. Are you ready? Okay. You're writing the book
Yeah.
on it. You're going to show people how it's done. That's where we're at, man.
Yeah. And it's like follow him into those dimensions. What dimensions of authority do we have beyond this? It's like you're saying your uncle. That's incredible. That's incredible. I've had one. I'm sorry, I'll go into dreams and stuff like that, but it's like, and here's okay. So last night before I went to bed, I prayed for this episode and I'm like, Lord, give me something. I don't know if it's a word, I don't know if it's a theme, if it's a scripture, whatever it is. Give me something. Had a dream last night, completely forgot it. I usually write them down. I usually remember them. So on my way here, I got out of my car to go get this little cookie. I'm on this diet. Anyways, get out of the car and there's these two. Here, I got them right here. Hold on. I find two $5 bills just like laying out flat on the ground. And I instantly get Matthew 5:5. And then in addition to that, I'm like, yeah, this is for someone today. I don't know who it is yet. I'll tell you later. I got Matthew 5:5, and let me just read it word for word. I know it, but I'll miss you probably already know it. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And to be meek, I'm like, yes. And the Lord's been telling me that scripture like past couple weeks. I'm like, wow, dude, to be meek is to be teachable. It's to be fluid, like clay, malleable, and to be open and to navigate this life and this existence with Him and be open to it. Can we go into the depths of hell and forgive an ancestor? I think so. I'm open to it. Can fallen angels be redeemed? I'm open to it. Can these things happen? It's like, if He says it is, I'm following Him and I'm open to it. I will be that water. I'll be the clay. But the key is knowing Him. It's knowing His ways. Like we have the mind of Christ. I think the mind of Christ is like, I hope, believes all things. Love believes all things. That kind of thing. It's like, yeah.
But not that. We don't believe that, brother.
Yeah, right.
If you love them and they need help,
too far.
They're coming to you for a reason. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like all of this, the way this stuff works out, these are all signs and wonders.
Yeah.
These are the fact, how, synchronicity, those are signs and wonders that follow you if you believe. It begins to show itself to you through everything. And it's not going to go away. It doesn't stop. Yeah. When you're finally like, okay, God, I'm done with that part. I want to just move on to just regular, Christianity. I just want to worship you and just go listen to good sermons. No, no, this is what you want. Because if you can try it, I'm showing myself to you there too. Every sermon is going to be about the last thing I told you, which is what the Holy Spirit does.
Somehow He makes it work that way. Yeah.
And now you're running, like every movie you watch, every song you hear.
Every movie.
And He's teaching us through it.
I got a cool story.
I don't even know, like, it's part of me is like, what, do we share this? Like, I haven't held back yet,
Yeah.
But
I think you do share it. And I think you've done a great job.
That's a synchronicity for somebody else, right? Like, you sharing your story of your dad was a synchronicity for me. And I'm pondering deeper, inquiring, hey, what was your birthday? Hey, what is it? Like, these are, God is in the question, man. Like, the church taught us not to question things. At least certain religion told us not to question. Let's say that. But Jesus is like, ask, seek, knock, ask. Ask is ask a question, and then He's going to ask you a question which reveals the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if something pulls you and inspires you, seek it, follow it. And the cool thing is, like, if it's the truth, it's going to be there. You can take a flamethrower to it. If it's true, it's standing. It's going to be there. If it's Him, it's going to be there. Whatever. Yeah. It's beautiful. I had and then the supernatural stuff too, like being surrounded by it. I would say invite it into your life, invite Him to show you all those things. I've had you were talking about running, and like, He speaks through everything too. He speaks through all of creation and through people. I mean, my gosh, people are conduits for His voice. Absolutely. Everything is. And it's like, have the yes in your heart and then just watch for Him. He'll just show up. Like you said, in music, in every movie, in every single movie, every single song. One day I was running, and my current position and job here, he's told me, like, hey, you're going to be in the city and in front of people and stuff like that. And like I've told you before, like, I'm a blue collar, not that smart. I'm just not. Very simple. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to, like, show me the angels. I want the reinforcement. I want people reinforcement, and angels, like, show them to me so that I know. And I had a dream one night where I was walking down the street right outside this building here, and it was headed north, which north is where all the demonic stuff was back in the Old Testament, like the giants and Nephilim, all that stuff. anyways, and I don't know if that's what it was specifically, but as I was walking down there into this territory, these two like fighter jets flew over my head. And they were like militant and they were blue and gold, flew over my head and rattled the city. And I knew like they're on our side. That was a show of force. Like nobody's messing with us. We can go anywhere. The next day, I come into work and I have a volunteer here, and she comes running into my office and she says, "James, two fighter jets just flew over the building." I'm like, "Yeah, okay." That was I know who that is. I know what that was.
Yeah. Here on the Gulf
And
Coast in Pensacola, there
oh yeah,
are these shows that they put on. There are fighter jets that go
the
by
Blue
the Blue
Angels.
Angels, the Blue
Mm-hmm.
Angels, you
Yep,
know. And
that was
so,
them.
oh yeah, so
Oh yeah,
there's a lot deeper mystery to these people,
yeah,
angels
dude.
that
And
are
I
flying.
opened this whole thing up. The Angels, and they're called Hornets, like the type of jet they are. I opened this thing up, and that night, I mean, one of those within that week, I had something right on my wall. I mean, nothing. I'm not intoxicated. Nothing. Just stuff just starts. It just happens when you're open to it.
Mm-hmm.
I had a blue and gold light right draw on my wall, and it lit up my whole house.
Wow.
It's crazy. I was watching Star Wars, and this happened. But anyways, I pursued that, and it's in the scriptures. Like the hornets will go before you and clear the way, and that kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, hornets. Well, multi-dimensional meanings and layers to that. It's probably a couple months ago now. I was praying for like, show me the reinforcement again, and I started to see hornets everywhere. And you can, it's that season. It still means that to me when I see them, and I would see them everywhere. Like it was ridiculous where I would see them. And I'm like, hornets, angels, they're here. And one day I was on the back porch sculpting. I think my wife was reading a book, and I was sculpting, and these two hornets show up on my back porch, and they're like flying around. And I'm like, that's funny. And my wife's like, they're gonna sting you. And I'm like, no, they're not gonna sting me, but I'll spray them. I got the wasp spray, and in my mind, I'm like, this is an angel. It's not gonna hurt it. So I hit one, doesn't do anything to it. 5 minutes later, one of these hornets flies right by my face, and it has that sound, that sound like the jet goes around the back of my head, and then it goes right up into my right nostril. It goes up into my head,
God.
and I start like sneezing, and I'm buckled over in the yard, and it disappeared into my head.
Oh my God.
It didn't hurt. It was just I could feel it going up in there. It was just uncomfortable. Like made me sneeze, uncontrollably. My wife saw the whole thing, and she's like, "What just happened? That thing just went up in your head." I'm like, "I know." And then I had a dream. A couple days later, took a nap, had a dream where these two angels showed up with pizza, tool belts. And they're like, "Hey, we're here." And if the angels aren't in here, hey, James, if you're not aware, like that hornet that went up your nose, like you're good now. It's like, wow, the weirdest story. But I'm like, it spoke to me. I'm not hurt. Nothing hurt me. This was months ago. And then we went on vacation a couple weeks after that. And where do we go? Orange Beach. Pass through your neck of the woods. And I had the thought, I was like, hey, I bet he's here somewhere. And then we get there, and I start to see those blue and gold signs on the side of the road. And I'm like, oh, that's like the Blue Angels.
Yeah, they got them on
We
side
get
the
there.
interstate there, like the big models and
Uh-huh.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like the training ground. They had the museum where we were staying at. So I went to one of those little souvenir shops, and I bought two little Blue Angel jets, and they're on my desk in there right now. But it was just him speaking to me the whole trip. It's like, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, hey, if you're not aware, you're not aware. And what does that do to your person? How real is that to know? Like in my heart,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, man, that's him reinforcing it. I can go anywhere.
Just been so many of those. I stare at stars. The man who stares at stars. It's not just stars
Oh, yeah.
anymore. It was stars. It's everything. I stare at bugs now too. It
Yeah.
just is.
Yeah.
And so there's something in who's staring at it.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to show you something.
Yeah.
It'll open up and show you its nature. Everything is a portal. Everything is attached to something bigger, including us.
Yeah.
We're seated with Christ in heavenly places. We have angel armies that are associated with us, fighting to us. There's a lot more to it, and once we're just having that conversation and we begin to just behold or look,
Yeah.
hold on, that might be like that homeless guy, may be Jesus. This trial and
Yeah.
tribulation in my life that I'm freaking out because I don't know how I'm gonna pay bills this month. He might be in here somewhere. No,
Mm-hmm.
he's not, because you did that to yourself. Now you can't just blame. I have those. It's the form of nagging Christians that I've been
Yeah.
and I know in my life. It literally takes their voice and tries to like talk me out of
Mm.
faith, but it's like God is like, nope, I'm in here. Look for me. Look for me.
Yeah.
And the voices always come, trying to talk you out of this revelation. You can't just put
Yeah.
God in
He's in
anything.
everything.
Everything's not an angel. Those are just bugs. Nothing is just anything.
Yeah.
Nothing is just. They're called blue angels for a reason. They're
That's
called,
right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Value the
amazing.
little things. They're not
Everything is
little.
awesome.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. We were talking about the term, hey, don't over spiritualize that. It's like, well, everything's spiritual. Every single thing is spiritual.
Yeah.
All of it. It's
It-
like, so
it-
you can't really say that anymore. I mean, I guess you can.
I'm big on the mundane
Mm-hmm.
because nothing's mundane.
That's
It's
where the
the
gold is.
thing
Yeah.
that we demonized or not demon. It is with the things you demonize, but demonizing the fact that God can't use it or Jesus can't use
Mm-hmm.
it or he's not in it, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you want to bet? So I'm going to hide
Yeah.
myself in that just because even the idea I wasn't in that. I
Yeah.
wasn't in there, but you challenged me. You said I'm not in there. The next thing that you need is hidden in Catholicism, is hidden into the beauty of how they do communion. I don't know.
Yeah.
What you need is in the thing that you attacked, that
That's
you
it.
have to come and become humble.
Mm.
Humble
And
yourself,
is,
therefore, under the mighty hand of God, to become meek.
yeah.
Because you think you got it all figured out. You just lock the door to any beauty, any
Yeah.
majesty that God has given those people. And you said that he is not in there. He could never be. It's my God, dude. Like, come
Yeah.
on. Any and
Is that
everything.
not the question to have in anything that happens? Say you have this horrible circumstance. People will say, how did this happen? What will become of this? How will it turn out? Maybe the only question is, where are you?
Yeah.
Maybe that's it with anything that happens. Where are you? Is it a heart change that is here for me? What is it?
What was
It's
King
where are
David's
you?
prayer? If I
Yeah.
do go to hell, maybe
You're
hell is
there.
real and I'm going there. Cool. You're going with me.
Yeah.
It's your will. Like, you're never going to leave me. You created
Mhm.
me. You gave this soul to me. If I ascend above the heights of the heavens, you're with me. Where,
Yeah.
if I'm in a place where I get fired from my job, where are you? If
Yeah.
you go through a divorce, God, where are you? Are you here? And if you look
Mhm.
hard enough, you'll see him. Definitely
He's
in
there.
situations. That's where we're taught.
Yeah.
We're usually not taught in the little cool, weird nuances like bugs and stuff, Maybe some
Yeah.
people are, but that came later because it was in mundane things that are just like, just
Yeah.
another ant or just another bug. What is its purpose? What is it created to do?
Mhm.
Is it in the Bible? Was it honored in Greece? Was it honored in Egypt? Guess what?
Yeah.
Probably. They
Probably
probably had
was.
a
Yeah.
whole priest class
Yeah.
that said, you know
Dedicated
what?
to it.
We're going to honor the bees.
Yeah.
They're called the Malassi or the Melissa, the
Mm.
Melisai, where they honored the energy, the goddess, the angel that was over and above the bees
Yeah.
that bring forth honey, that bring forth enlightenment, because honey is linked to
Uh-huh.
enlightenment in the Bible. And it brings
Yeah.
forth
True.
oil, or which is the blood, the life force
Yeah.
of the flowers, in the process of which how you get it. Man, listen, you got to
Yeah.
gaze. You have to just honor and look for him, and you'll see him. Like everything, everyone. That's
Yeah.
why you're here. Because
And
you
I
can
think
do
that's
it.
the fear of the Lord. I think that's it.
Oh,
The
yeah.
awareness, the reverence of he's in everything. It's all of it. And it's beautiful, man. Life is not, it's not that hard when you're with him. It's like, it's not even judged by, is this good? Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? It's like, no, dude, life's in you. It's like, hey, apply that to life. Apply this situation, whatever it is, to Jesus, to redemption, to him. It makes it, I mean, it's like unstoppable. That's what More Than Conquerors is too. It's like, but yeah, man, I love that, honoring everything. And I love that you look at the stars and the bugs. That's an inspiration to me. I do too, but probably not as much, but like, it's inspiring. It's like, yeah, man, look at the gold in the mundane. At one time, I did that years ago. You were talking about the stars. This was years ago. And one night I got out of my car real late and I just thought, like, I'm just going to look up and enjoy it. And it was just peaceful. And I saw some stars move around. Saw 3 of them turn into a triangle and just go. And I was like, yeah, it didn't take that long. All I did was pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, connect your attention and your intention
And they know.
to everything. Yeah, they know. It's almost like they want you to. It's like the Lord is like, I want you to know me. Creation's like, I want you to be intentional, value it, you know? It's beautiful.
There was one of my like really profound early on, star moving experiences was in Pensacola. And you may have heard me share this. I don't know how much I have. I think I wrote about it in my book anyway. But when I was driving a truck delivering car parts, like I clocked in at 3 a.m. and we unloaded pallets and packed our trucks and took off. And so when I was getting like, this was all new to me, and I wanted to get out while it was still dark, because it's like, oh, I can see lights, and let me go to a place, let me go pray, let me go meditate by myself, like at 3 a.m, 4 a.m. And I remember getting to this gas station. And for those of you who, I'll tell you the gas station. So if you're coming out of Pensacola, there's a bridge that you go over. Like if you're coming out of Pensacola and going towards Milton, there's a bridge that's overlooking the bay there, and there's a Dairy Queen. It's like at the top of the hill with like this overlook where you can overlook the water. So I'm there before any employees get to this gas station. There's like a Dairy Queen in there. I get there and I'm just like out looking, gazing, praying. I just wrote this worship song that I did, this new worship song called Awesome God. And I'm like singing it to the Lord, and just in this moment of just like looking at the stars and naming the ones that I know. Okay, Betelgeuse, Orion, the Pleiades, Vega, Mars. I'm just naming them, looking, and just waiting for something to move, and just kind of in this beautiful moment. And then I look up at Orion, and it's like, oh, there's Orion. It's in Pensacola, and I said, hold on, that's not Orion, because that's Orion, and it was like Orion, but it was mirrored like right below it. And I was like, there's Orion. Then I look up just a little bit. Hold on, that's not Orion, because that is. And the moment that it was like, hold on, that's not Orion, the 2 stars on the end lit up really bright and powered up and started flying into Orion. I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck? Like the moment that I said, hold on, that's not Orion.
Yeah.
It's like they flying in there. It's like they just, the attention is what like ignited it. And then here I am like running to get my phone, like, oh God, I gotta film it. And it was crappy phones at the time, and there's no way you can film it even if you want to. But at that time it was a lesson of, hey, just be in the moment, be in the experience, instead of trying to kiss and tell or wanting to show everybody. Like God's trying to show you, and then here you are wanting the proof or whatever. But that was one of the first times.
It's like Moses in the burning bush.
Awesome.
He took a second look at it. It's like, wait a minute. Let me stop and turn back and look at this thing.
Yeah.
It's like a double take,
And
that's cool.
That was one, but you start noticing. And there was another time driving through Georgia when I was driving. And it's so funny because I would be driving, but I'm looking up. I know I'm a danger to pedestrians because I'm driving my truck and I'm always looking up, like looking at the stars while I'm driving and stuff.
Uh-huh.
No accidents. But I'm looking up in Georgia. It was during the day, and I seen a jet flying across the sky. And as soon as I seen the jet, like I got the download, the inner knowing that said it's flying towards a UFO to scare it away, because if it gets close to it, it's going to go just, so nobody can see it. Not that it's a threat, just like it doesn't want, we don't want these to be seen. This is their job, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, the download came to me. That's where he's headed, flying directly to a UFO. So I just looked over in its path, and literally in the middle, in midday Georgia country, there's this shiny orb just floating there long enough for me to see it and let the sun reflect off of it, and then just disappear. I was like, what the?
Yeah.
What? You just, what told me
Yeah.
that? And it is the what did it sound like? You know what I'm saying? And that gives that just leads to more questions, because it sounded like the voice that's been guiding me since the beginning, the voice of the Holy Spirit, the still small inner knowing that we say is the Holy Spirit, that we say it's the voice of Jesus or it's the voice of God. Are they different? Some people will tell you, but for me, it's like this inner knowing that has a feeling of peace with it, of comfort, versus God corrects us. God chastises those in which he loves, but it's never been the chastisement that we would expect from the father relationship, right? It's like a mean correction. I'm getting on to you. You keep messing up. You're stupid. It's never that. It's always in love and like, hey, we're going to get this right next time. You're going to try it again. You're going to have another chance, but make sure next time, like, this is what it's always in this correction to help you get it right, never to condemn. So it's what does it sound like? What does it feel like? And it's a loving, it's all the same. It's all heavenly. It's all that of peace and of love that the enemy can't fake, because you know it's a stranger's voice. Oh, now you're following UFOs and listening to aliens. No, it's angelic, man. It's always been angelic. Yeah. It's always been those who travel from heaven to earth that are mentioned from Genesis to Revelation, interacting with the prophets and disciples and even Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's like closer. I always say this, he's closer than our thoughts. Like he's on that level in there too. It's like when you get to know him and stuff like that, he's that level. You've had things where it's like, oh, I just judged somebody, I just stereotyped somebody or something. And then you come to find out like, holy crap, that was what they are. You find out later and it's like, man, yeah.
Had the same thing happen.
Really?
Like I said, I don't know how much of my story. It's almost like, hold on, you're pretending to be me, dude. You're taking my story.
I listened to all your episodes and I memorized all of them. And I came on here to.
He knows me better than I know me now. But I mean, getting introduced to the prophetic, and I wanted to mention this with you, and it kind of is a good segue there. But it was when I came out of witchcraft in in the year 2000, and became a Christian, got set free from demons. And eventually within a year, God closed those doors. I was in the psychics, like it was into the dark side of it all, but it wasn't, it was like a year later, everything came full circle, and the Lord showed me the prophetic, showed me how he works. And there's, these things that I was looking for in the world are actually, there's a redeemed version that is the true version, which is prophets, seers, is how they operate. But I found the work of, Morning Star Ministries. Yeah. And that's, I wanted to use that as a segue kind of thing. I went to visit my brother in prison, and I was young, and everybody I looked at, like I knew why they were there, but it was just judgment, and I'm praying against it. Man, why I keep judging these people? And it's like, that guy, he's talking to his daughter, but he's been inappropriate, and this guy's in here for manslaughter. I'm just like, what? It's kind of like overwhelming, but not like it was in the demonic. I'll tell you that. Yeah, it's overwhelming because I didn't know. I didn't know what it was, and I'm trying to pray against it. Like, Father, help me not to judge these people. I don't know these people. I'm judging them. I literally was doing that, and then come to find out, God's opening the prophetic up the right way. But the Morning Star Ministry stuff, because they were the first ministry that I found that were like a staple on prophetic and prophecy
Yeah.
and walking in the spirit and hearing God's voice and practicing and stuff. And I seen that
Mhm.
you guys interviewed Susie Will's,
Yare.
Yaria,
Yeah.
and like I tried to have her on years ago. It never worked out right.
Yeah.
I did have Leonard Jones on though,
Oh, cool.
but yeah, I was like huge fan and still am of Morning Star Ministries and what they brought
Yeah.
to the table. So just wanted to use that as a segue, man, for
That's cool.
for just to ask you about your experience. Haven't listened to your
Oh, yeah.
podcast, but with
Yeah.
Susie and stuff. But I love what they brought and bring to the table.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know them that well. I know of them, Morningstar and Susie Yare. Our church was like an underdog church. It wasn't like, it didn't stem from like a big branch or anything like that. It was just born out of like a home group almost. And we're real big on like the prophetic and healing, everything
Mm-hmm.
there. Um, so that would be, you should interview, I mean, if you ever get a chance, Daniel Turner, our pastor. And even the term pastor is weird to say it. I still kind of feel weird about certain terminologies, but
Yeah.
he's solid. But we do that. We function in it up there all the time. And every time we have church, we have like prophetic teams where we can go train. We train all the time on how to hear and stuff like that. And then that leaks and carries over into your entire life. So the Morning Star stuff, I want to say Daniel was involved there for a little while. Anyways, so that's where Susie came from. She helped our worship team like years ago. And so we thought, oh, we'll invite her on. We had a little way in there and a lot of that prophetic. And the way that I functioned in it was like, first off, you got to know God speaks to you. So just ask him, And then I practiced it. When I worked at that warehouse, after I what I consider born again, like you feel it when that happens. It was like I woke up, I'm a baby, and I'm like, okay, what is your life? Okay, you work in a warehouse. You have a wife. You have a daughter. All right, it's a harvest, ground zero. Let's go, And I would pray for these truck drivers, these just burly looking truck drivers that would come through every morning at like early, like 4 a.m. And I would just pray, like, God, do you have anything for them? And he would give me stuff, and I would just meet them outside, and some weird interactions, some of them, but some of them hit. I got my boss one morning, got him good with a word, and it's just like, it was just quiet. And this guy had like a demeanor of like, just straight face, just like this all the time. Just could never tell any expression from him. And I got a word for him one morning. And when I was really trying, I desired it. And like the Bible says, like earnestly desire it, like lust for prophecy.
Yeah, I love that lust
is what it
word.
says.
Yeah, I love that. There's
Yes.
a translation that says it, and ever since I've heard, I was like, yeah.
And it's like, we can lust for the giftings like that. It's like, yeah, man, earnestly desire them. Yeah, lust for them. And so I did, and it started to happen. And oh man, I had some good ones. And so I just develop it. You just start small. You just pay attention. You stay open and understand the Lord speaks through everything. He's still developing that language within me. Like I said, he's closer than your thoughts. We had a guy come to church one morning. He walked in the building, and in my head, I was like, oh, movie director. He looks like a movie director. And I thought I was stereotyping, like, is it his hat? Or I don't know.
Yeah, he does, and he
comes
looks
up,
like, doesn't look like it at all, but it's just your prophetic. Yeah.
And I was just like, and I didn't know it was prophetic. It was like as quick as a thought. And he came up to our little teams that we do, because we pray for people and stuff. And afterwards, we gave him words and stuff like that. And he said he was a movie director. And I was like, what? I missed it. Like I could have told him that. And I did not realize that was him telling me. But training ground, weeks and weeks pass by, and I'm on a run. And one of my practices when I run is I'm just going to, everybody I pass, I'm going to wave at them. I'm going to look at them. I'm going to just love them. I don't even have to say anything. And I feel that snowball effect of the Lord's heart welling up inside me as I run. And I love running because that's what it is, connection time. And I'm running, and I run past this one lady, and I get a first and a last name just pop into my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, that reminded me of that movie director thought that I had. And I thought, I'm going to learn from this. And so I asked the Lord, I just had this inner dialogue. I'm like, was that her name? He says, no, it was somebody she loves.
Mm.
I said, okay, well, what do you want me to tell her? What's the word for that person? And he said, I want you to tell her like she's up against this stuff, but to be consistent, this whole thing. I said, all right. I said, but I'm not just going to stop her and give her a word for who she loves. I want one for her too. He gives that to me. And I said, well, now you're going to have to bring her back in my path. Or, if you want me to do this, you're going to have to bring her back around.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, it happens. But when you do it out of a place of, I'm just going to love people, and you get a word like that, it's the sweetest, most natural. It's not weird. It's just beautiful. There's no like, am I gonna creep her out? It's just beautiful. And I just stopped her and I said, hey, I pray on my runs and the Lord highlighted you. I said, is there somebody you know and love named first and last name? And it hits her. And she goes, that's my cousin. And then that hits me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was it. A first and a last name. You can't just pull that out of the air. And then I said, well, the Lord wants her to know this, this, and this. And he wants you to know that you're a powerful woman. And she pulls out her headphones and her phone and she says, I'm reading that book right now. And it's Woman of Power
Oh my
by
God.
something. And that hits me. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I was just like, well, yeah, well, you are basically. She's like, can I give you a hug? I'm like, yeah. And she texts her cousin that word. Who knows where she is? Who knows? So that's my experience with the prophetic, is just like being faithful. Whenever you get something, it's like, hey man, test it. You don't have, just test it. Ask him for small stuff. He'll give you small stuff and just let it snowball and build. And he'll build the relationship, the communication, and then you'll have tokens. He'll give you tokens of it. I had one, briefly, when I worked at the warehouse. I was leaving one day, and he said, hey, go to Home Depot. Got an image of this lady with glasses and like kind of bushy, curly hair.
Did you need to go to Home Depot?
I didn't need to go to Home Depot. He said, go to Home Depot. There's a lady in the middle aisle. Go tell her that her sister, she's in the hospital, but she's going to be okay. And I'm like, either I'm crazy or this is you. No one in the world's going to know if I walk into Home Depot. One way to find out. Yes, one way to find out. It's not that big a risk. Nobody knows why I'm going into Home Depot. So why not test it? But I was also having a bad day. I don't do bad days anymore, but I was like ready to get home and stuff. But I was fighting it on the way there. I was like, fine, I'll do it. I go up there and I go into Home Depot and I'm walking where he's telling me to. And there's that lady standing there, just like he showed me, right in the middle of this aisle. And as stupid as this sounds, I sat there, watched her, and I said, I'm not doing this. Which blows my mind to this day. I'm like, how could you not do that? For whatever reason, I left. And I was driving home, and I don't even know how I did this. I was driving home like, James, you just completely skipped that opportunity. And I felt so guilty about it. And so I was praying about it like, Lord, I'm sorry I did that. I'm sorry I neglected that. I feel awful for it. She deserved that word. And I heard him as gentle talking about him not being a punisher. He said, he's like, James, it's okay. He said, that was an opportunity to just partner with me on it and just build that relationship, just to partner with me on something. He said, I'm going to get to her regardless. That was just a chance. Like, don't feel guilty about it. Mm-hmm. And that sweet correction from him, I would say it freed me up to take chances even more so.
Yeah.
Than had it been a punishment thing. Because now I'm like, no, man, this is a privilege. It's an honor. And he's so sweet. And so I haven't skipped out on one ever since.
Yeah. You find that it's a blessing for the person for sure. But it's, God's dealing with you. The trust thing. Like, I know we talked about that on your show. Like, It's about trust. How much do you trust me? Or how, and maybe it's going to cost you. Usually, like, it costs your ego, usually. Like,
Yeah.
you become less so that I can, you let me increase, and then you fall to
Hmm.
the background and can I have your body for a few minutes?
Yeah.
Can I speak to
Yeah.
these people through you? Sure. I don't have a body right now. Can I
Yep.
use you? Yes, Father. Hey, and say it with the say it with, that it's, man,
Yeah.
it's awesome. In those things
Yeah.
where you like, it's so deep to look how this works and lean into it. He's not mean. He's
Yeah.
not condemning. We are.
Right. Yeah.
We're mean. There's parts of us that are evil, that are condemning, and we beat ourselves up and we beat others. And like, you'll go through that condemnation, like, of a missed opportunity, because
Hmm.
in a sense you grieve the Holy Spirit. And then when you
Yeah.
find out, you're like, oh man, I've been asking for him to use me, and he finally said okay, and then he
Yeah.
gave me the ball, and I getting ready to take the shot, and
Uh-huh.
I either
Dropped
missed
it.
it or not. That you just don't
Yeah.
shoot. It's not
Yeah.
that you
That's
shot
it.
and missed it. It's like you didn't even shoot. You just say,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try it again. No, this is the moment. And when it happens and you find it out, it's not that God is mean to you, but we're mean on ourselves, of like condemning ourselves and grieving. Oh, and I like, sometimes it feels like a punch in the stomach,
Yeah.
because it's a shot to the ego, it's
Hmm.
a, but a lot of it is that we're going through that. It doesn't change the way God feels about you. He knew it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
He knew what you was going to do. He uses it as a learning experience for you. Um, but
Yeah.
our shortcomings, everything is us working through our perception of what is truth, what is reality.
Yeah.
And you may go through a cycle. Maybe it takes you, a while to quit beating yourself up for
Hmm.
doing that,
Yeah.
or maybe, and then it takes a day, then it's 5 minutes, and then it's like, pff, okay, felt it, not doing it anymore. But if I do miss an opportunity, I'm not getting, sent down these crazy cycles of beating myself up, because I missed the mark or whatever the case is, because that's what sin is. The Bible
Yeah.
says whatsoever is not done of faith is sin. So get into these places where you're sinning or whatever. You're just not operating out of faith. You're operating out of
Yeah.
lack. You're operating out of scarcity, out of condemnation. So yeah, you're already not in it. But it's interesting to see fasting, the prophetic, the imagination. All of it is how
Yeah.
we interact, like, with that realm of what really
Yeah.
is. It already is. Like, Jesus isn't going to forgive you. These things aren't going to happen. They
Yeah.
exist. Everybody, there's a record of everybody's phone numbers and addresses that exist. It's on
Yeah.
Google. You can look up stuff, like, but in the spirit.
Yeah.
So,
He was
but
crucified before the foundation of
how do
the earth.
you tap in to the science, to the spirituality
Yeah.
behind it? Do you even know it's a thing? Or does it have to be random? Because you found out that you can ask and you can lean into it, and then you begin to activate it, and God's like, cool, I'll use you this way. Sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
did he say, okay, I'm going to answer it? No, it's like you got into alignment with how this aspect works. This is this stuff on, the afterlife and souls and all this kind of, this isn't new.
Yeah.
It's new to you. Now that you know it's a thing, maybe your prayers change, maybe your devotion changes, maybe, things begin to change of how you perceive it. So it's
Yeah.
all your perception of how it works, what God is able to do, what he isn't, you know.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but I love trying to evolve that, because
Yeah.
when you look at it, it's one thing. When
Yeah.
somebody else looks at it, it's another. In
Yeah.
faith or in doubt or in hope, and life goes to those places, to the bugs, to everything, man. It is your perception of,
Yeah.
of even the news. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
we're
Oh
all
yeah.
watching the same. We're all reading the same Bible, man.
Yeah.
It's not obviously there's some different ones, but they pretty much say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's the eye of the beholder of what light or darkness is inside of the individual who's operating, who's in relationship with God, which is everybody
Yeah.
in one way or
Yeah.
another. But what is that relationship? What is that
Yeah.
belief of Jesus? What can he do? What doesn't he do? What is he against? What does he send you
Yeah.
straight to hell for? Because maybe
Yeah.
we all have different things, right? But that relationship of consciousness, it's very awesome to think about and to see,
Yeah.
you know, read narratives into something because of
Yeah.
what you said or what you look like or whatever, man.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
infatuated with seeing through the stuff to be
Yeah.
able to see God for who he is.
Yeah.
Whether I like it, whether it scares me and shocks me or not, just part of it now.
To
But
explore
we
it and
get better.
discover it.
We can
Yeah.
lean
And
into it more.
I think that's the original intention of him too. I mean, talking about Adam and Eve, it's like be fruitful and subdue the earth, but like, what does it look like to name the animals? What does it look like to name everything? I think that's science. Hey, apply a name to what exists. Discover what exists. Make the sense of it, but discover it. And I think it's less of, hey, here's a conveyor belt, elephant, tiger, whatever that is. It's like discover. It's a discovery. It's seeking the truth. It's beautiful. And then
It's
having the
still
authority
that.
to name things, it's great.
Yeah, it's still that. And we're still
Yeah.
in that.
Still doing it.
It's like, no,
Yeah.
that's a homeless guy. Okay. And be careful around them. They'll try to rob you. No, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
That's Jesus. The guy's got a name.
Yep.
That's a psychic.
Yeah.
We don't talk to psychics. I did this thing, a couple of years ago of just like, coming out from the labels or whatever. Because I just talked to all of these people that are scary, right? And
Oh yeah.
and it was of like I did it for like the shock value of I'm done. I'm done talking to psychics. Almost like I repent, kind of thing. We go through these thoughts. I'm not talking to any more psychics, man. I'm not talking any more, witches and warlocks or
Yeah.
new agers. I'm not talking to them anymore on my podcast, man. But then I
Yeah.
open it up to pastors. I'm not talking any more pastors. I'm not talking any more prophets and priests and teachers. I never did.
Yeah.
We never did.
Yeah.
We're talking to
That's
people.
right.
And
Yeah.
when we put those labels and those names on them, they become that in our mind. And all of those names, all of those titles mean different things to each and every one of us.
That's true.
Most Christians are scared of those people. Most people, they're scared. They've already condemned them to hell. That maybe their demons are stronger than their angels they're operating in. There's a lot of just weird stuff that's not real.
Yeah.
It's not real. It is real to you because
we diminish people.
you said it was real.
With titles. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
But to remove
everybody,
that,
Yeah, that's good. That's real good. That's how we should see people. Everybody is this like eternal spring of infinite destiny. Everybody, the homeless dude out there. Yeah, the witch, the warlock. It's like, who are you? And that's a discovery in itself. It's like everybody you meet, it's like, who are you? Like seeing Christ in them, like you're saying. It's
just
beautiful.
a dude.
And then even finding it, pulling it out and saying, hey, this is you.
I've shared this story a good bit, but when I came out of witchcraft or whatever, like there was this warlock who taught me. He was like, he discipled me and kind of stuff, and he's a real deal dude. Like,
yeah,
and like, I guess if I was scared of him, like in Christ, like, cause like when I became a Christian, I was like, I can't see this dude, like, cause I know the power that he has, and I would be intimidated, but in my head, it was like, one day you're going to have to, like one day you're going to, witness to him or whatever. You're going to have to see him. You're in the same town with him now. And it was like, oh man, I don't want to see him. He's an older guy, it's like, he's got more power than any of the Christians. So maybe the Christians do have something to be intimidated with. I don't know, but literally as far as like working with beings and stuff, like it's crazy. But, I was scared, to see him in passing. And then I remember driving down my street, and he was walking down the road, and I'm like, oh God, keep looking forward. Don't even look. Like, it's him.
Yeah.
It's an older dude wearing all black, old man walking down the road. And it's like, oh God, I got past him. Man, I saw him. That was, my heart's racing, shallow breathing, intimidation. And it wasn't until, I guess maybe 3 years into being back in this area that I was at a GameStop or whatever, or video game store, and I was in the back of the store, and then you hear the bell ring, ding, ding, somebody walks in, and it's him with another guy. I said, oh God, and I'm like in the back, oh man, that's him. I was like getting nervous, and he walks back, and I was like, here it is, you got to just say hello, and I'm just building him up in my head, giving him energy,
Yeah.
and he
Give him
walks
power.
back there, and it was so awesome how God let me see him, because he's just like this goofy dude there to buy a video game. And then I was like, hey, Pops, how's it going, man? Hey, man, what's going on? He's all goofy and stuff. And like, I was like, yeah, I gave my life to the Lord, man. I'm following Christ now. Oh, I know, man. And it was just like all happy, and there was nothing.
Yeah.
So like this weird, like dark warlock, like thing in my head that is like, this is a dude, man. This is a person that Jesus loves. And the weakest Christian really is operating in more power and authority than the strongest Satanist warlock that you could ever imagine. And if we knew that, that's what gives us the ability to see through a facade, which is magic.
Yeah.
That was magic. That you can't see him.
Yeah.
You see the title.
Yeah.
You see the war. You see I summon demons. No, listen. He got nothing on who's with me and who's in me. It has nothing. He's the king of the universe.
Yep.
So it's these. We got these titles we put on people, man. That it's like we avoid them. Yeah, those are homeless people. Those are crazy people. Stay away from them. Or those are New Agers. Or those are heretics. Or those are. And that's one way of where the church looks at us. But let's go into the opposite. How New Agers or spiritual people look at Christians, because that'll try to get on you too. All Christians are shallow. All Christians don't read their Bible. They just believe anything. Christians are gullible and stupid, and they're all of these things that it's easy to pick up personas is what they are. None of that's real.
Yeah.
None of those are all in your head.
That's right.
And so to continually tear down those strongholds, those strong men, which is what the scripture tells us, that demonic strongholds that exalt themselves against the knowledge of God, that you can't even see that this dude is hurting, looking for what you got. And you're the only one that has the authority to speak into his life.
Yep.
You've been there.
Yeah.
And that's how he sends you back. You remember you were talking about, the things he tries to use to kill you. Like he's got to send somebody back in there, man. Somebody who's not scared, that has a compassion, that has empathy for those people, who understand and is not going to judge them. Come on.
Who has the heart of the Lord. And that gives you the ability to not only not see them for those projections, but to connect to them. Yeah, because like you're saying, who else is going to? We just going to let them go? Who else is going to? That's the ultimate. That's one of my favorite aspects of the Lord is humility. The ability to navigate people regardless of class, anything. It's like I will look you in the eye and value you regardless of what you do, what you look like, any of it. That's the one thing about your podcast. That's what you've done. Who else is going to do that?
A lot of people now.
Yeah.
You
open the door,
Yeah.
like we've said before, but it's humility.
It's
and
awesome.
they're in the knowing of what you wield. That you can safely speak to a warlock or some, I don't know, a witch, some high priestess, but
a gay
it's like
person.
it
don't matter. Like
that's the
whatever.
person. But you've shown that facade for what it is by doing it. And another thing that's cool about your episodes and stuff and those people, by the end of the show, I love that person.
Yeah.
It opens up my heart
Yep.
for those people. And that's the gold in it.
Yeah. The thing you
Yeah.
said that God's not in, like these people are psychics. They can't. I was like, man, some of these people love Jesus more than these pastors, dude. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, they're close, not just love, but they're hearing from God. These so-called, and I'll say this little stuff like, a lot of the psychics are prophets that the church didn't know how to steward, and shepherd.
Yeah.
So you go to the first thing, you go to the internet and you look up these symptoms, you look up these things. And if the church is
Yeah.
just condemning it and not like the prophetic, it happened to me. Like operating in the prophetic, I brought it to my pastor, dreams and visions, and maybe they weren't like, he couldn't handle it. So it's no shame to them. But it's something for me to see,
Yeah.
that I'm like, God's speaking to me in this way, and we're praying against it like it's the devil talking to me, and it never left. That's the one thing that that you can't pray God away. You can't
Yeah.
pray a calling away. You can't pray your next move, and you can't go around it. You can't skip. Like I don't like that test. I don't like that thing that I'm going through. Like there's nothing. That's it. That's the next thing. You have to go through it, and
it'll keep coming around too, like around a mountain, just over and over again until you hit it.
But it gave, it opened my heart to be able to position myself, to go to where those people are searching,
Yeah.
alien episodes, mysticism episodes, and
Yeah.
you're gonna encounter Jesus. Like that's the goal, and it's working,
That's
and
good.
it did. So
That's
be
his nature.
strategic.
Yep. Yeah, that's cool.
Just we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up here at the end, guys. But I just want to open up if anybody has any questions for James or myself right here at the end. Anything that you guys want more info on or roll an idea off of. I am paying attention to the chat here for those who are watching the live stream on YouTube and Facebook. So just a few more minutes before we end. Let us know if you have any questions. Those books that you read early on, like what were some of the books that like really left an impact on you?
There was one called The Three Battlegrounds. So simple, so profound. The Three Battlegrounds by Francis. Oh, I can't remember what it was.
Bacon?
And obviously the Bible.
Frangipane? Francis?
Yes,
okay.
That's the one. Beautiful book. Oh gosh, I read some other one about demons. It was just stories about demons and experiences. The Bible over and over again. Oh, what Watchman Nee, a lot of his books. Oh my gosh, I have them all. The Book of Martyrs.
Did you ever read The Final Quest? Speaking of Morningstar,
The Final Quest was one of them. Yep, I read The Final Quest. And I just read a lot of stuff in that year too. Was just a lot of other ancient texts, holy texts, a lot of the saints and some other. I read some other religions too, ancient religions. I was just fascinated with it. It's like I want to know what other people believe too.
Was it to study to prove them wrong? Because I know you said like eventually you're like, hold on, this is the same thing.
No, these weren't to prove them wrong. I just wanted to know. It was almost like a compassion. I want to understand where they're coming from. Because I don't think people are inherently evil. I think they just, they believe certain things the same way that, so we do, that we're susceptible to. We're born into things. And
we got a question from Facebook. Elisha says, what's your thoughts on the two witnesses? You probably have many thoughts if you're like
the two witnesses, like
I guess in Revelation, yeah.
Oh gosh, my thoughts on Revelation are different. I would say not normal.
Yeah,
been called a heretic before.
There is no normal. That's what people got to understand.
And heresy is to not be in the majority. I'm not really sure. And that's one answer that I've had is like, I can always pretend like I know something. But one thing about being honest is like, if I don't know, I don't know. And I'm not really sure. But I think a lot of Revelation, and even like in Matthew, when Jesus is talking about the end of the age, I'm starting to lean towards, I think a lot of that happened. I think the end game is heaven on earth. I think it's always been that way. And so I don't know. Maybe we're all the two witnesses. Maybe it's I'm not sure. Maybe John's still alive. I don't know. Maybe it's Elijah and Enoch. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe it was, yeah. I mean, you have to look at the things differently. And it's not
Yeah.
to say, as a matter of fact, that it's only this, because obviously, the scriptures are multidimensional depending on who's
Yeah.
reading them and where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe this is the thing to look at. Like, Jesus was with, Elijah and Moses, like
Mm-hmm.
at the Mount of Transfiguration. Maybe that was it. Maybe it was that simple that we missed, that they came to speak through a vessel, which is Christ. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I'm with you on the preterist thing. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I got
Yeah.
there naturally of like, hey, this stuff has happened before. And
Yeah.
but then it was over. Like, oh yeah, it's all happened, man. It's not going to happen again.
Yeah.
It's all, but it's like, oh,
And it's like Jesus prophesied it, and it actually played out in the perfect way. It's like, okay, that seems like it was fulfilled. Maybe it is like Left Behind. Like I said, I'm open to it, but I'm leaning towards, I think a lot of it already happened. And one thing with like eschatology and things like that, maybe it's not so important what you believe, but how does it make you act?
yeah,
How does it make you navigate life? Is it fear? Does it make you hoard canned goods? Or does it give you life and to be present where you're at,
yeah,
and to see people? So,
yeah. It's good. I'm of the opinion that, yeah, all of it did happen,
mhm.
but just as the cycles go, it's happening again, and and
Yeah.
and and who knows how many times. Obviously, the further we dig, literally under our feet, they've all, experienced their end of the world, their, kind of
Yeah.
thing. So,
And I would encourage, to check it out, look at it, look into some of these things. Don't be afraid of it, but if you're led into it, if it pulls you, like, you should investigate it.
yeah, it's the only way that there is the one who was. When we look at prophecy, was, because all the prophecies, they're so crazy. You'll find a piece of truth that shows you not only was all those prophecies fulfilled, but they were fulfilled in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a thing with the Jewish people getting mad that we're interjecting Jesus into it. All those prophecies,
Mm-hmm.
it was talking about Israel, and that was God would bruise Israel. Like, it happened, but it
Mm-hmm.
happened again, and it happened again. The
Yeah.
one who was, who is, and also is to come. How are you is and is to come? These are cycles.
Yeah.
And if you do know Revelation, some people here even in the chat just saying that we just went through Revelations 12 or whatever with the virgin bringing forth a child and all those prophecies
Oh,
that came
yeah.
forth. Like, there's,
That's beautiful. That was written in the stars too. Like literally.
yeah,
That was, yeah.
we're going through this like all year.
Mhm.
Like, it's going to happen next year. These
Yeah.
are these are generations and cycles. So yeah. So so the only thing I'll say about that is to explore it with not having it all figured out, and
Yeah.
being so dogmatic. And once you change the way you look at it, then you humble yourself to be
Hmm.
taught, right? So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah. I
something
think
in
that's
it you need for
the
today.
meekness. Yeah. Yep.
Um, a lot of questions now. I guess we're just a minute or two behind on
That's,
the lag on the stream or whatever. There's a lot of questions. Here's a good one though.
I'm free.
Here's a good one. Lindsay says, any advice you can give for one who has gone down so many rabbit holes and doesn't know what to believe anymore? I feel lost, but I'm open-minded. You know, that's
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people who feel that. I've been there.
Yeah. I've been there too. I think it's, like I said, there's a healthy, I think, way to give up and surrender it and to ask for truth and then to expect it. It's when you ask, just throw it out there. And Jesus showed up to me, and I trust him so much that it's like if you knock, I promise you, he will answer. I promise you. And I'll just go ahead. Lindsay is her name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I pray that that you have dreams about him. I pray that he shows up in your life in a tangible way. And like we've talked about earlier, like the yes in your heart, and then just have your eyes open. It's like, how is he going to speak to me today? What is he going to show me? And he's weird. He's crazy. And somebody said this, as weird as he is ridiculous love. And so you'll know him by that. So it's exciting. I would say anticipate it.
Yeah.
And just be open to him.
Double down on the good stuff. For me, that's Jesus. He is all things good in the universe, in the multiverses. If it's good, he's there. So, Christianity.
And we say Jesus. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you. I want it for my sake, cover myself. I say Jesus, but like I've said, like goodness has a name, love has a name. Yeah. It's Jesus. You can experience him. There's people that I don't think have ever heard his name before that experience him. You experience true love, true value. And so, anyways, I'm sorry.
No, it's easy to complicate the grace, the Judaizers or whatever the thing is. Like, it's like you're overcomplicating it for people, and we're we rub shoulders with those people, guys. As you are a truth seeker, as you're open to be taught and you're looking for truth, and you've listening to a stream like this, we've been saying how God hides himself in everything. He's there if you look. But there is a characteristic. It is grace. It is peace. It is love. It is hope. It is joy. Know that it is in that it hopes for all things, that it is humility. It's not a know-it-all. It is not condemning and finger pointing, because he's not doing it to you. Know that. So once you know what love is and you've experienced it that way, and if you never have, now that we say it in this moment, experience it, ask for it. You know what to look for, and you'll be able to recognize that he's been there the whole time. Leaning into that. Yeah. The good stuff, the love, and maybe even sometimes turning off the fear, stuff that takes your energy. You know what I'm saying? And and takes your hope, and takes your money. That's what I have to do. That gives me. It is simple, and it's in the simplicity of a relationship with Jesus. Well, I'm going to say it, but then immediately, like, your comment goes to, well, that's not his name. His name isn't Jesus, because I watched this video on how the J didn't come until the 1400s or whatever, or 1700s, and how his name is Yeshua, and so I can't say Jesus, and I try to say Jesus online, but all these people send me videos, and I watch those videos, and it tells me that Jesus is a demon we're calling on, and so now it's complicated. The simplicity of Jesus. Listen, I've got paintings of the white Jesus and stuff that looks like, that's not him. And that's not his name. He responds with what we put on that name. Yeah. So Yeshua, love, daddy, Abba, helper, God, savior, Emmanuel, I need you. And that's the simple part. So don't let them complicate that. Your prayer, which was like, God was not you didn't say the right thing, brother. There's videos that you'll watch and these people will complicate it and say you're not saved. And lean into the simplicity. It will give you the strength that you need to navigate the mystery. But what I was going to say a while ago, Christianity, what it brought to the table is making God relational. Jesus is the image of God with us here. That is a friend that knows what you're going through, and who will never leave you, never forsake you. Even if you went to hell, maybe you're in hell right now. That's where he wants to go. He wants to go to the place where you are. It doesn't matter. And he's with you now, man. So let me just pray for people who are going through that. I know what it's like. And maybe I go there at times too, but I don't stay as long as I used to because I know he's with me. There's no thinking that he's going to forsake me. On my best days, on my worst days, he's with me. So let's just pray for Lindsay and just for everybody who's going through that, because I know it's a whole bunch of you. I know. Maybe you even feel that after a conversation like this that challenges you of like, man, I thought I had it figured out. And it's in that very thing of like, you don't. What do? You humble yourself. You go to what you know. What is eternal? Love, hope, faith, charity. Those things will never be destroyed. You can take it to the bank. They will stand the test of time in this life, this age, and the age to come. They will be remembered. Your beautiful memories, your beautiful experiences, they are preserved in him. He has a book. He's keeping record. And he keeps no record of wrongs. He wipes away every tear from your eyes. So let's just pray that even now. Father, I just thank you that you will wipe away the tears. Lord, that you will restore the years that the enemy has tried to take away. The memories that the enemy try to come in and get you to look at things different. And you look at people, you look at church, you look at God, you look at pastors and ministers, and you can't even see the good. Your mind goes straight to the bad. Father, I ask you just to send forth healing right now, that you make all things new, and that we'll be able to see past the personas and not see things as though we are, but see things the way they are, the way that you see them. To see Jesus, to see Christ, to see beauty, to see Yeshua.
Yeah. And Lord, be the absence of confusion in anyone within the vicinity of my voice, of our voice, Lord. And Lord, just give the impartation that you are the ultimate companion. You are the ultimate Father. Whatever is lacking, you fill that gap and that void. And Lord, I just speak complete peace in the absence of confusion. That people feel, Lord, feel your presence on them right now. Let it fall on them, Lord, like shallow rain, God. And I do speak visions. I speak dreams over their lives, Lord. And just open their eyes, Lord. Open their eyes and the simplicity that you're there. Yeah.
Yes, Father, remove the spirit of heaviness, spirit of confusion and weariness. Give them a spirit of praise, a garment of praise, a heart that cries forth, Abba, Father, in relation. We thank you, Lord, that we'll stop listening to people who's trying to tell us about you who don't know you. And for each and every person listening, myself included, that you would just take us deeper into the reality of who you really are, and just how there's no cap to that. It's the most amazing relationship, Father. We thank you so much that you wipe away every tear from their eyes. Cleanse their wounds, God. Sustain them, I pray, in Jesus' mighty name. Amen. And amen. Relationship, guys. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can give it to you. It's personal.
Yeah.
They have no idea your relationship, what you've been through. I don't. We see it every now and then, but he knows. He knows it, and he still loves you, and he's here for you. Tell him how you feel.
It's that simple. Yeah, tell him how you feel. Talk to him. Just share your day. And it is really that simple. It's like you're in the middle of an ocean with nothing else but him. That's the core of everything. It doesn't matter like, hey, my life is supposed to look like this, or I'm supposed to be here or there. It's like, no, all that matters is he is with you. That's it.
Boom. thank y'all for hanging out. People saying, man, you guys are awesome together. You guys are powerful together. I enjoyed it. We're two or more gathered. You know what I'm saying? It's been fun to connect with you, man, and roll ideas, and I just love how it works.
Here.
So
same here, man.
Let people know, man, where's the best place for them to support your work, to get in contact with you, what you bring to the table, all that good stuff, man.
Yeah, well, theancientwaypodcast.com. That's about it. And we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Pretty simple. So yeah, just check us out. And my co-host Marlia and I, we've been doing this for probably 2 years. And I would say over the course of it, we have guests here and there, but a lot of it is kind of a tapestry of what we're going through, our lives and experiences with the Lord in that moment. So if anyone's interested, it's all things you can take and latch onto, just like your podcast. It's like you have the ability, people can come in, and we want to be the floor that they can use to propel themselves. We want to be wind in sails. It's like the Yoda quote that we mentioned in the podcast the other day. We are what they grow beyond. So anyways.
That's it. Y'all go check it out. It was a good talk that I had on his show too with him and Marlena. Is that it?
Marlia.
And so she'll probably be on here too at some point because she brings a lot of cool stuff to the table too. So you guys are a great duo as well. That was so much fun.
Thank you.
But yeah, we'll have to do it again, brother. Thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, y'all be blessed. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you go check out his work, check out their podcast, and we'll do it again. Shalom. Peace, everybody. God bless.
Absolutely. Bye, y'all.